Anyway, I started walking the next day, and it was a long way to Switzerland, but it was a long way to Spain too, and probably a little closer to Switzerland than it was to Spain, but also it was less inhabited, less built up in that part going through France. So I chose to go towards Switzerland. We had been briefed before, if you got shot up badly and you couldn't make it home, you could crash land in Switzerland or land in Switzerland. And several did that, of course, and I saw some of them later. But anyway, I walked, and I had broken a bone in my foot. I had a real sore right foot. And I later learned I had broken a bone in my foot, and it was sore, but I walked. And I walked too far the first day. I blistered my foot. And I think I walked about 30 kilometers that first day, and that's a long way. I stopped in that night at a railroad crossing, and at some of those railroad crossings that had manual barriers, and a young man lived there and ran that. And so I could see him there in the thing, and I was all alone. It was getting dark. I walked up, rapped on the door, and I just told him who I was. Je suis pilote. I'd learned, they gave me a French-English dictionary, and they briefed me on some things the night before. So I told him, Je suis pilote américain, parachute en France, partez en Suisse. I'm going to Switzerland. And he took me in, fed me, doctored my foot, and I stayed with him a couple of days because my foot was pretty bad. Then I started off again. And this was 16th of March. I think I crossed into Switzerland the 3rd day of May. It was a long, long road, and as I approached Switzerland, you're getting into the mountains. I ran into German roadblocks. The first one at Langres is an old medieval type of city. They signed some of the peace documents there during into World War I think. Anyway, it had 3 gates into the city and a wall coming around. The highway came around the outside of the wall. So I'm coming around the outside and going uphill, and about 6 German soldiers were going the other way. And they stopped me. If they had spoken French, I'm caught because I was speaking French, and of course didn't speak German. They stopped me, and one of them, I think was a sergeant, inquired about a cafe, and I just pointed out the cafe that way and turned and walked on. I came up around the wall, and the road made a 90-degree right turn into a railroad underpass, or some sort of, I don't know, it was a highway, or I think railroad it was. It came along the side of the town there. In the underpass, it was about as far as from here to the far wall, I guess 75, 80 feet, something like that. And I turned and walked to there, and at the far end, it was barricaded, and one side was barbed wire, and this side had barbed wire movable, and there was a German soldier there. I walked right up to him, and he said, papier, papers. That's all he knew, you know. I had the advantage of looking young. French boys didn't have to have papers till they were 18. I turned around, I just pointed back to Langres, called the name of it a couple times, walked away from him. I expected to be shot in the back every step, but I got up there and I turned the corner and got out of there. I quickened my steps and went out and caught a little side road, came back in on the highway, a little further out, kept on going. So that was a close call. Then I'm walking and getting pretty tired. It's getting colder. I'm getting up into the foothills of the mountains. And some nights I stayed in the woods, lean up against a tree and try to sit up. Other times at a farm field, I'd burrow into a haystack. I didn't like to stop in towns much, but I would always stop in a small village or a remote farmhouse. If I saw one of those, I'd rap on the door, tell them who I am, Je suis pilote américain, parachute en France, partez en Suisse. Most of them would take you in and help you. Sometimes they put you out in the barn. Sometimes you could sleep in the house with them according to what they had. But I always picked a small town in the inn house in the road that's closest to, or a remote farmhouse. Some of them would have nothing to do with you. They were frightened if there had been any reprisals, so they knew about it. They would not take you in. They would not help you because they were frightened. If the Germans caught them helping, they could shoot the whole family, you know. So it went like that. I got pretty cold, pretty hungry at times. I got to the point as I got into the snow, then I ran into the snow, and my shoes got wet in snow, and I'm cold and hungry a lot of the time. And I thought about, well, if I turned in to be a PW, maybe I'd be warm and I'd have something to eat. And I was kind of like an alcoholic, I think. I'll go one more day. I'll go one more day. And I went one more day, the rest of the way to Switzerland.